The daddy-daughter dance means so much to me because my dad means so much to me. It's our special day every year when we get to dress up and dance and just have fun. I like helping my dad get dressed. He thinks he looks cool, but I show him what cool is when we get to the dance floor.
Things about you, and I don't know what it is, but I have never known a love like this.
Since the baton was passed, hopping down, cause feeling's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
Welcome to another episode of Dad is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color fatherhood, as well as changing the narrative on the things I care about. And today, what I care about, I have a very special guest. She is the visionary and the advocate behind this great platform called MenWithLocs. Nina LeVere is a visionary and advocate for individuality, focused on Men with Locks in 2012. Her passion for celebrating the culture and diversity and empowering men who embraces locks to lead her to create a brand that transcends mere hairstyles. With a mantra that echoes, locks aren't just a hairstyle, they're a statement of strength, resilience, and cultural heritage. LeVere's brand has become a beacon of confidence and representation with the lock community. To lock with Men with Locks, LeVere has cultivated a platform that fosters pride, style, and a sense of belonging for men choosing this unique and meaningful hair journey. Her dedication is to embracing diversity and promoting self-expression continues to inspire and uplift individuals worldwide. That was a tongue tie, but I got through it. But I'm truly honored to have her on the show with me, the woman behind Men with Locks, Nina LeVere. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming on. I ask all my guests all the time because I'm an advocate of mental health, especially in our community. I think in all communities, mental health is important. So my first question to you is, how's your heart?
It's I wasn't prepared for this question. It's it's going, to be a bit transparent, I'm in a grind mode and sometimes being in like a grind mode the way I've been grinding, especially lately, it can be a little overwhelming at times. So and just trying to stay on the course, trying to continuously motivate myself, consistently being my biggest cheerleader. Has Every day is different. Put it like that. Every day is different. I have really great days where I get up and I'm like, yes, I want to master something today. And then I have days where I'm just like, what am I doing all of this for again? So I want to say that my heart is in a stable place. I am still working on getting to that ultimate state of happiness.
Definitely, definitely. And the one thing is about your last name, which I find astonishing. I know we talked a little bit off camera what that meaning means. Uh, that your last name means to give or hand over something to a person for whom it is intended to. And with your brand, Men with Locks, it represents your last name. So just
Um,
talk about the story behind the last name.
so it was told to me, my father's is from my father's side of the family, and my great grandfather had Caucasian European ancestry. His I'm not sure how far back, but I think maybe like three generations lived in America, and they were involved in the slave trade to some capacity. And so when he met my great grandmother, I'm not sure exactly like how they met or what the origins of the meeting, but when he decided to marry my grandmother after they had, because I believe they had children first, and then he might married her afterwards. And so I think what happens is when they started to move on to his relationship, he changed his name from Revere to LeVere. And what's interesting is because I was on the family tree team where we were like digging for information. When we were able to find some early records, he actually passed, which I don't even know how he was able to do that, because back in the day, to legally marry someone that wasn't of a Caucasian race, it was illegal. So I believe they forged some documents so they could be able to legally marry. But yeah, so that's where my last name came from. My great grandfather had children well into his 70s, and my grandfather was the last of his children. So yeah, so that side of the family doesn't go as far back as like what most would be. So it's only two to three generations removed because of my grandfather having my grandfather at 70 years old. And that's why my grandfather was the youngest.
Oh wow, that could be a book eventually. If you think about it, I could.
Yes, yes.
So I think
Yeah.
that might be something that you'll probably do in the future, because I know that's an interesting story by itself. But going back to your journey and going back to that, what I stated earlier, to give, and I think with this platform that you created, Men with Locks, is giving men an identity of to appreciate the locks. So just talk about that journey to Men with Locks.
Okay, so when I started my own locks in 2012, the same year that I started MenWithLocs. And what was interesting is because when I started doing research, when I first started my locks, and I would go on natural hair blogs back in, and you probably know this too, back then, you know, um, Facebook was the only social media platform there was around, and also blogs were really popular. A lot of people would find blogs to read based around their interests. So naturally, when I started looking into locking my hair, I started looking for blogs. Just talk about people's lock journeys, as far as like what products to use in my own hair. And what was interesting to me is that I realized after doing so much research that there weren't really any stories from men, and I found that to be really, really interesting. So, few months or so go later, I started joining a lot of Facebook groups, and there was one particular group on Facebook. I don't even know if the group is still in existence. It was called Dreadlocks, and all they shared was white people with locks. Like, you didn't see any black men, black women with locks. And I just found that to be really interesting too, because in my personal life, I knew so many brothers with locks, and I just said to myself, hey, I should create a platform for black men with locks. And that's just how it started. At that time, my sister was still heavily involved in it. So I came to her with the idea, and then she was really much, pretty much in charge of taking photos. And what we would do is we would just go out on a regular day, and we will go up to the first guy that we saw with locks, and we'll start talking to him about his hair. And we were so shocked that men were even so willing to talk to two strange girls. But even more shocking to us was that they was willing to let my sister take their picture, which we thought was just crazy. We didn't think anyone would be interested in even talking to us. And that's pretty much how the brand grew. We created a Facebook page initially to promote the blog post, But what happened was the Facebook page started to outshine the actual blog.
Oh,
And
wow.
even though we maintained the blog and we still maintain the blog to this day, people are still very much interested in our social media content. And that's been a bit of a change with just content creation, how because MenWithLocs has been around for almost 12 years, we kind of had to go along what was most beneficial for us to continue to share our content. So we went from like, focusing heavily on Facebook. And then when Instagram came around, then we, created a platform on Instagram. And now I just created a TikTok account this year, just finding platforms that we could be able to reach more of a bigger audience. So yes.
And I think one of the struggles too is that the ultimate goal is through social media is to
Hmm.
try to direct that traffic to your site, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the ultimate goal because they're just a middleman. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
introducing you to new potential clients, and so that's kind of the challenge. But at the same time, that's the beautiful challenge of it is how
Right.
many new people can I get into my brand and appreciate it. And seeing, from social media, you are getting definitely a lot of love what you're doing because what you're doing, I don't really see a lot of people focusing on black men with dreads as
Hmm.
much. I um I see it a little bit, but your hone is on that part. So like just talk about like why was like your main focus to focus on black men and dreads.
Well, pretty much to piggyback a little bit, because there weren't really any platforms dedicated to black men, and even the platforms back in then in 2012 when we first started, they were more focused on black women. Because I think when we think about hair, we associate hair with like beauty, and of course more women are drawn to beauty and hair, or is more commonly known that women are more drawn to that type of content. But because of the relationships that I had in the past with guys with locks, just friendships, platonic friendships, um, I know that some of the guys would really give me great tips and information. And it's funny because I have a friend who I known for like over 20 years now. I remember when I told him that I was starting my locks, because I started my locks from a fro, and he was like, "Oh, Nina, you got to do this. You got to make sure you do this." Like he just literally just started giving me tons and tons of tips. And I was just like, wow, it was surprising to me that there weren't stories from men who've had their locks and that is willing to give, if just as much advice, if not more, to other brothers and sisters with locks too. Because like I said, I am a sister with locks. So I just wanted to curate a platform just for that reason. Now, almost 12 years later, MenWithLocs evolved into more than just that. We still, our main focus is still just featuring black men with locks, but we understood too that there's so many different dynamics to just being black, male, and locks. And so we wanted to also tap into those topics as well, like stereotypes, and why unfortunately even in this day and age, how you could be stereotyped just from having locks. I've received countless amount of emails from brothers just asking like my thoughts on should they or should they not cut their locks for employment. I had a more of a stronger stand against it back when MenWithLocs started. But now that I'm older, it's not about conforming per se, but I understand that we may not always be in a position to start our own business or to go without. So sometimes making that sacrifice cutting your hair to be able to position yourself to where you could be able to start a business in the future or just do something that you love, and you can always grow it back. That's why I tell guys, I'm like, I'm not going to tell you to cut it. I'm not going to tell you not to cut it. I'm just going to tell you to think about what's in front of you and make that decision. And yeah, but hopefully I didn't go off topic too much. But
No, no,
yes,
no, no, no. You were right on topic because I agree with you 100%. Is that
yeah,
we have choices. We can make those
right,
choices. I think that's important, to separate, if you decide to do this, there's a high probability you're not going to get the job because of that. Unfortunately, that's the
right,
real. Even though we have the Crown Act that's trying to gather a lot of momentum to make, legislation where it's, illegal to deny someone a job because of their hair. So
right,
until that is fully recognized, these are things that we have to make choices on and take a
right.
stand on. But what I love about your what you're doing is you're unlocking men's vulnerability, and a lot of people don't know that sometimes men's vulnerability is through their hair.
Right, right.
And just talk about that surprising element of you unlocking men's vulnerability through their hair.
Honestly, I always like going back to what I was saying a little bit earlier with the relationships that I had with brothers with locks. I always knew that the men that was in my circle had a just a close connection to their hair, and it wasn't always cultural. Sometimes it was aesthetics, but it still made them feel good, but it wasn't until the we started to feature more brothers, and I started to have more online and offline conversations with them about what their locks mean to them, their reason behind locking. You will find some of the most beautiful stories, and I feel that as a society that can look at men deciding to wear their hair as based on these stereotypes. I just feel like that it's a sign of power and strength for a guy to decide to allow his hair to grow out and for him to, show up in this world in so many different capacities with a hairstyle that has stigmas attached to it, but know that those stigmas is not enough for them to decide not to do it. At least back when we first started, and prior, long before that. Now that locks are becoming a little bit more trendier, I mean, there's still quite a bit of stereotypes attached to it, but it's becoming a little bit more accepted in certain areas, like in New York, where there are plenty of black men with locks. They may not deal with the same stereotypes as someone like in Utah, where they might not be as many black men, let alone black men with locks. But I love things like the Crown Act that makes it, just really make their mission about people being able to have a fair shot no matter how they wear their hair, whether it's locked, fro, or just in some kind of natural style. Because we understand, because it's funny because when I started MenWithLocs and when it started to take off steam, of course, you will have uninvited guests that want to weigh into their opinions. And a lot of the things that they will say is, oh, it's just hair. So what's the big deal? Black hair has always been a big deal because we were shamed and made to feel like that the way our hair grows is not professional, that it's not, that it's I'm sorry, I'm trying to find another word here. That is not professional, that it's not kept even by some of our own family members. And it's unfortunate, but of course, then you're getting into a conversation about just that generational, those generational struggles that we all suffer, and our families and families before us struggle, and just really trying to be able to make it in life and fit in. And so, like I said, that's a whole nother conversation. But So when people come into our comments and say things like that, I take offense to it immediately because, we were always made to feel that we were less than, and yet we still rise above that. And even when we exist in our own communities and when we do the things that we want to do and we shout out our own people and we create platforms and safe spaces for us, it's still looked at as bad. But then when we try to blend in with certain communities, then it's also looked like it was bad. So it's just like we kind of, it's like sometimes it's like the double-edged sword for us.
Yeah.
It's like you do damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
No, I agree with you 100% because, it goes back to what Dr. Black said of living in the white imagination. And living in the white imagination, to me, is, we're confined of being assimilated. And by being assimilated, we have to put our Black identity to the side just to make it or be
Right.
accepted in society. And the beauty of, dreads is that it has a historical significance to the culture. When you talk
Yes.
about revolution and a fight against the colonizers and the such
Right.
on nature, it's so much into that if people knew it, they would appreciate locks. And
Right.
going into vulnerability, one of my favorite videos is the video you had a conversation with a father and son.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna play it first and then just give me behind the scenes about that conversation with the father and son.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, I'm here with, and describe your locks in one word.
So I would literally say like these are my everything. These are my antennas. This is royalty. This is everything.
Okay.
Everything.
And what about you? How would you describe yours?
I would say them like they myself, they unique, and they me.
Ooh, that's dope. That's dope. That's dope. That's dope.
Okay, I'm here with.
And that was powerful because again, what we were talking about before the video is knowing the value of who you are and what you are. So like just go into that conversation you had with the father and son.
So, Darvell is really special to the platform because that whole series where that interview was from is from a series that myself and my sister developed called Power and Blackness. We did the first shoot back in 2014, and where we just gathered a group of men in New York City, and we did some photos of them, and we had all the brothers wear black, because we wanted to show strength, we wanted to show unity, and from the popularity of that photo shoot, I decided to do it again, but this time incorporate more interviews and just questions about locks to go along with the pictures. And so Darvell was a part of the first shoot, and he was a part of the second shoot, and I had no idea that he was going to bring his son. I honestly didn't even know he had a son that old. So when he came there, and he was like, "Oh, Nina, this is my son." And I said, "Darvell, what are you doing with his son this old?" And we laughed about it. And so, just as we were standing there, I said, "Well, let me do a quick video of you guys, and I'm just going to ask you to describe your locks in one word." After I released the video, he reached back out to me. He was like, "Oh man, we described it in multiple words, and we kind of like laughed about it." But that's a question I usually ask guys, just because I don't know. It's just one of those questions that I feel like you can find that one powerful word that can just signify what your locks mean to you. And that's pretty much the whole question and the reason why I asked that question. But yeah, it was beautiful to see Darvell there with his son, and there were other brothers there that had their sons. Some was in the photo shoot, some weren't, and it's just always a beautiful experience to be able to connect with guys and watch their children grow up or watch them become fathers. Quite a few brothers that I met through the platform when I started have since became fathers, since started locking their children's hair. One of my close friends, his son is 8, and he started his locks last year. And when he told me that he was going to start his locks, he said to me, he was like, "Yeah, Nina, Omer wants to start his lock journey." And I was like, "Really? That's so sweet." And he said, "Yeah." And he was like, his reason for wanting to start his locks is because he sees me with my locks. And because of that, he wants to start his locks too. And I just thought that was a beautiful thing. But yeah, to get back to that video, that I was really, really excited to be able to see Darvell's son. And I have not released the pictures as of yet. Waiting for the video to be able to release the pictures, but they should be coming within the next several weeks. And yeah, I'm really excited about dropping them officially. But the videos have taken off so much. It's like, wow. I mean, the pictures are just going to be kind of like the icing on the cake. Because one of the videos pretty much went viral on multiple platforms. And I never create content with the mindset of going viral. Was interesting. I just create content that I love and just put it on a platform for the people that already follow us. So when things pick up steam, or when we get viral videos, is always like fun to me because I never create content with the mindset of them going viral at all. So
No, and I think, and I find that so beautiful, that you said that, is that you're doing it because you love to do it. You're not doing it for clicks. You're doing it because that's one of your missions, is to highlight the beauty of men with locks and their sons. And another video, I truly appreciate you posting that too. The video that you did, I think that was a while ago, was a father and a daughter playing in the park.
oh yes, yes,
That was
yes.
a beautiful girl dad moment right there too.
Yes, I always said, because I'm also a photographer, always wanted to do a series for Father's Day and just photograph men with their children. And the reason why I said that I wanted to do something like this, because you don't see a lot of that on the internet. Whenever I look for content to post, because I'm a street photographer, I do 90% of my photo shoots and my videos outside. So, of course, because I'm in Philadelphia, it gets cold here. And so in the winter months, I tend to look for content to post, and until it start getting warm again. But sometimes I have these visions to do certain content or to look for certain content, and then I'm at a standstill because it's just not there. And I wanted to do, a series this well on 2024, photographing just Black men and their children, and just highlighting the men that really take care and stand on business, and create a whole series around that. So that's something that I'm working towards in the new year, well, the coming months, I should say.
And I hope you do, because I definitely will buy it when you ever release it. But just talk about, as a photographer, the power of freezing time. Because I look at you as like the time freezer.
Uh-huh.
You freeze time in the moment. So just talk about that power that you have as a photographer.
It's funny because I always laugh at my own photography, not in a bad way, but just in a way of just making fun of my own self. Because I literally call myself the most boringest photographer. When I work with guys and when I do photos, I generally don't pose. Like, when people ask me, like, well, what do you look for when you search for brothers with locks for your platforms? I said, just locks. Like, I don't do a lot of posing. I don't do work with a lot of themes. I don't work with models per se. So a lot of my photos are really, really just, for lack of better words, basic. But what's interesting is because I've been doing Men with Locks for 12 years now, and oftentimes I may go back to some of my previous photography that I did 4 years ago, 5 years ago, even some of the photography that my sister did. Um, when she was heavily involved, it's like it takes me to a moment in time where I can remember exactly what happened or exactly how that guy felt later when he reached out to me and was like, wow, this is such a beautiful photo of me, or wow, I can't believe that you picked me to feature on such a large platform. And then is oftentimes where um I photograph guys that transition. Um, and so being able to create a positive moment, not realizing that that's going to be one of the last moments of a person's life. And being able to, um, provide that to a person's family. I'm trying not to get emotional, but it was a guy who I photographed in 2022 in Philly. I just felt the need. Oftentimes I just get a itchy finger, and I just want to start doing some photography, so I'll just throw something together really quickly. And I did it here in Philly, and it was about 20 guys that showed up, and I was like, I want black and white photos. I just wanted to just capture just men, and just really really basic, but just filled with just like emotion. And so one of the brothers that came out, name is JR. And I captured a photo with him and his brother, because him and his brother came together. And then I did some solo shots of JR by himself. Well, he passed this year. And I didn't know, because I don't, regularly keep in touch with a lot of the guys. I photographed hundreds of brothers, so it's very hard for me to be able to stay in touch. Now, if they reach out to me via the platforms and be like, "Hey, Nina, what's going on?" Definitely, I'll talk. I'm not unavailable. It's just that it's really hard for me to just keep touch with everybody that I photographed. But I posted the picture to his page and my page, and then of course I tagged the guys in it. So maybe about a few months ago, I started seeing like all these rest in pieces on the picture, and I'm like, what's going on? So I looked, and then that's when I seen that the brother passed late this summer. And I was, shocked, because he was a young man. And unfortunately, Philadelphia has an issue with crime. And even though I don't know the details of what happened to him, I do know that he was unfortunately murdered. And his brother, who I casually kept in touch with, because his brother is a event curator, and he also owns like a hotel that he does like a lot of events with. I reached out to him to send my condolences and things like that. But I reached out to his partner, and I sent my condolences. And I said to myself, like, wow, I would have never thought that this would probably have been one of the last professional pictures that his family can have. And I have more, and I said that I would edit more, so I can be able to present it to his brother, who I am in contact with. I just have to get around to doing it. But it was really shocking and sad. And that's just one of a few guys that I photographed. Another guy who unfortunately transitioned, he was somebody that came around from the very beginning, and when I had no followers, and I would see him from time to time at different events. And he passed in 2020. And yeah, it was the same thing. And you just never think about how you're creating not only memories for your own platform, but memories for other people as well, through pictures and through these interviews that they can hold on to. I never would have ever thought that I would be able to have such a platform like that. But unfortunately, these things do happen in our community. And I'm just glad that people are able to have their families' memories through what I do every day, and which I love. So
And I thank you for sharing that, because that's
mhm,
important. But also too, how we like to put our labels on people. You
mhm,
being a black woman, photographer, Um, but I see you more than that. Because I see you doing like different photographs, images anywhere around the world. But do
Yeah.
you worry about being typecast as just the woman that photograph black men with locks? Let's say if you want to transition into other arenas, let's say you want to do photograph for sports events or anything else. Do you worry about kind of it hinders your growth into the other medias?
No, that's kind of what I want.
Okay. Okay.
I tell people all the time, you can't hire me. Excuse me. That's a joke that I've been saying for years because people has tried. My friends when they started, because really I picked up the camera not because I had a real sincere interest in it. It was based on need because my sister moved away, and at that time, MenWithLocs did not have the budget to be able to just hire a photographer to travel along with me while I go to these events or while I do things and create content. So I literally picked up the camera for the sole purpose of continuing to just spread my message, take pictures, create content for MenWithLocs. So I pigeonhole myself. I do take little pictures of my daughter is a lot older now, but when she was a lot younger, I would take a lot of pictures of her, like, outside and things like that for practice and just because I like photographing my baby. But no, I don't do any other photos. I'm not interested in it. I only solely photograph for men with locks. So no, I don't have a problem being pigeonholed because I pigeonhole myself.
No, and I appreciate your commitment, and I see photographers as activists because
Mm,
you're highlighting without words, um, just what's going on in our current situation, whether it's positive or negative.
right,
You what you do, it has so much value and importance to our society because I think of Egyptian hieroglyphs. When everything is gone, those are your images are going to be the stories of humanity as a whole, and
right.
how like people see how the world looks through your eyes from photographing. So my last question to you, because this has been an amazing conversation, like what do you want the world to remember your work by, and why?
You know, I that's kind of a hard question. Believe it or not, because I haven't really gave it a lot of thought. Um, Honestly, and this may kind of pivot off the topic, but if I was to, hmm, I don't know why I didn't prepare for such a question. But I would say it's less about mental locks and just more about what I created. Um, I would want people to know that any idea that you have, no matter how strange or out the box it may seem, can be that one thing that can really change your life. I always say to people, like, Memorex changed my life in such a way that people don't even really understand, like, except if you're really close to me, you know, it really gave me the power to believe in myself because I literally sat in my room and came up with this idea. If you would have asked me, and I'm in my 40s, if you would have asked me in my early 20s that, or if you would have told me rather, in my early 20s that you would have created a brand that lasted over a decade, I would have laughed because back then I didn't believe in myself enough that I could be able to create anything that would interest people enough to want to do what you're doing, like interviewing, or just for people to want to read or people to even want to be a part of. When I put out like castings or when I put out, requests for brothers to show up and they do, it's always a pleasure first, but it's always still shocking to me 12 years later, especially with us just doing the shoot in New York. That was the biggest photo shoot that I ever done. I was aiming for 100 guys. We had about 45 show up. And even though I was a little disappointed I didn't make the 100, after thinking and sitting back, I'm like, Nina, 45 guys showed up for something that you created. And so I think I will want to tell anybody or what want to leave a legacy, empowering people to do whatever you feel that is important to you, that aligns with your beliefs, and that you feel good about. The money will come later. MenWithLocs still not making me any money. I still got to work a full-time job. I'm still doing a lot of hustling. But, I'm not worried about that right now because I feel like, I've been in it for 12 years. The time will come where I can be able to monetize it enough to where I can be able to do it full time. And it's not because I want to become rich or the next top influencer. It's just that I want to be able to devote more time and to be able to create more projects. So it's important for me to set it up in a way that I can be able to monetize it full time so I can be able to do even more things that I'm unable to do because I have to clock into a job every day.
No, and I understand the grind is real, and
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're doing. And more importantly, I don't know if you realize the impact you're making, that we're getting this perspective through a Black woman's lens on Black men, which is a rare thing you see in society, highlighting, the positive and the good things of Black men. And I thank you
Right.
for that. Truly, 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 truly. How can people find you?
So we're MenWithLocs on everything. We're on all major social media platforms, and we have a blog called MenWithLocs.org. The MenWithLocs.org is down now because I'm in the process of redoing the website, but we will be relaunching MenWithLocs.org in January. And so, if you're listening and you want to check out some of our stories, just, set a reminder to check out menwithlocs.org. But you can follow us on all our platforms. And next year, we're actually going to be going on a bit of a photo shoot tour. Most of the photos that I've done have only probably been in Philly, New York. So we're going to go into other locations, Baltimore, Atlanta. We also plan to go to Europe, which is something that I've been working on for many years, and we're finally getting an opportunity to go out. So if you happen to be listening in any of those areas or some of the other places that we're going to be going to, because I have a list that I'm going to post officially in a few months, feel free to hit me up, and I can make sure you get on that list.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. This has been another amazing episode of Dad is Not a Noun. All the links in the description will be in the description below. But again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you. And I'll be following everything you do, man. Whatever you have out, I will let people know. I'll share. I'll do my part to keep the word out there. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me again, and I love what you're doing as well.
Thank you. Again, this has been another great episode of Dad is Not a Noun. Like, subscribe, wherever you type in Dad is Not a Noun, you'll find me. And we're out. Peace.